All right, welcome back to Impossible Versus Matches, the podcast where we take pop culture characters that have nothing to do with each other and then improvise scenarios that make them cross over in a Freddy versus Jason like film scenario, some sort of crossover like that. If you don't know the rules, you should have been here.
Yeah,
Where
you should have.
this is episode
Shame
26
on you.
now. Yeah,
Shame on you.
this is episode 26 now,
Yeah.
and I'm seeing a lot of views that should not uh that are not there, but
Yeah.
they should be.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What y'all
um
doing out there? Y'all ain't doing nothing. This Corona. Everybody's in their house. You
yeah,
know, all that.
subscribe, share with your friends. You ain't got nothing else to do. What are you gonna do? Watch Friends for the 80th time?
Yeah.
Nah. Watch
Yeah.
The Office another round.
Listen, there's a whole YouTube playlist of Chris Chan videos I can be watching right
Yeah,
now.
you can
Okay.
dive into the Chris Chan rabbit hole, or you can listen to this podcast. Join with me today is good friend Jason Brown returning to the show after a long absence.
Yo, that's what they call me. They call me Jason Brown, but they also call me Jay Brown. Your girl calls me Chocolate Thunder, and that's and your mama calls me baby. So you know what? It's just another day, another dollar. Again, a dollar makes me want to holler. I'm terrible. I'm the worst.
He's
I'm
also
dark.
referred to himself as J to the A to the BZ,
Mm-hmm.
but coming in again. But if you're a returning viewer or listener, thank you. You know how this goes.
Yep.
I've got a list of a bunch of characters. Jason usually has a list of a bunch of characters, but this time it has been lost to time.
Yeah.
So in this particular group of episodes, Jason is going to be throwing out a random character, and if we've used
Yeah.
it before, we won't do it. But if we haven't,
Mm-hmm.
then it'll be going against some random person from my wheel. Uh, and then also, Jason, we're going to let let's keep the horror characters to a minimum because
Oh
October's
yeah.
coming around and I don't want to overuse that. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, I guess let's get started. Do you would you like to go first? You are the guest, or would you like me to
Yeah.
go first?
You go first. You go first. It'll help me come up with a character that hopefully hasn't been used.
All right, cool. Go ahead and drop me a name.
All right then. Sonichu. I had to,
Oh,
but I'm sorry.
we're
Uh,
gonna zap to the extreme with
I'm
Sonic.
gonna zap to the extreme. You know, we're gonna find a boyfriend-free girl,
Oh my
and
goodness.
you know, us and Magic-chan, Rosachu. No, Rosachu is just Rosachu. Magic-chan is a whole different character. My bad.
All right, so for those of you that do not know, Sonichu is the creation of one Christian Weston Chandler or
Christine.
Christine Weston Chandler, depending on what timeline you live in, um, who is a huge rabbit hole to go down, but basically Sonichu is a incredibly copyright infringing character that mixes together Pikachu and Sonic the Hedgehog.
All the best parts.
Yep, takes the best parts of both of them, but still ends up being really lame. So we're just going to dive right in. And interestingly enough, um, we have Sonichu, a character born of copyright infringement, against Mickey Mouse, a character that copyrights everything.
Yes.
So we've
Yes.
got a very interesting little thing here. So,
Actually, yeah. That comes together quite well.
but once you know what, I would assume that I don't think there's nothing stopping Christine from putting Mickey Mouse into a Sonichu comic. Billy Mays has been mayor of Quickville before.
Yes, yes.
Um,
Recipes about
for
it.
those of you who don't know anything about the Chris Chan
Universe.
Odyssey, then by all means dive down the rabbit hole so you have any idea what we're talking about. but um, the
Yeah.
only thing stopping Christine from putting Mickey Mouse in the comic is her actually making a comic,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I'm sure it's been years. Um, but anyways, so now I gotta improvise Sonichu.
Yeah,
Thanks,
man.
Jason.
Yeah. I got to keep you on your toes, man. I already have
Thanks,
a cool.
Jason.
I got a cool way how they come together.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say
Mhm.
that far into the future, real world politics has Disney buy Sega.
Okay.
Disney decides to buy Sega,
Which they
and um, this is operating in a Who Framed Roger Rabbit sense because, according to a Chris Chan phone call, he believes that to be real.
yeah.
The Who Framed Roger Rabbit thing, where all your fictional characters do indeed exist on their own.
Hmm.
So, so Mickey Mouse does exist, and he actually works at the Disney Corporation. Disney has now bought Sega, and of course, the lawyers say, "Hey, I smell some copyright being infringed upon." So Mickey's like, oh boy, time to go put out an eviction notice or
Oh no,
something.
I even got some better. Mickey just looks at Goofy and Don, and he's like, "Suit up!" And they put on their Iron Man suits because they own Marvel,
Yep.
and it's Mickey Mouse, Donald, Goofy, and basically like stormtroopers with Iron Man armor are
Right.
going to invade Quickville, and it's going to be the citizens of Quickville versus the Disney overlords in a monumentous battle.
And when Mickey crosses over into Sonichu's world, he becomes just horribly drawn.
Yes.
And like it basically it's very much reminiscent of like Kingdom Hearts when their appearance changed by going into somewhere else. And but yeah, Mickey smells some copyright being infringed, so he goes in and he's like, finds Sanju, and he's like, well, you're mixing a property that I own with a property that I don't own, and that can't fly.
Nope.
And Disney, of course, also likes to keep things squeaky clean. So not only does Mickey know about the videos of Chris Chan in blackface, which is which is censored out of all Disney media, and,
It's
but
not.
also has discovered the some images that have been drawn of
Mhm.
the citizens of Quickville, and that can't happen either.
Right.
I'll let you people Google that at your own leisure. But
Yeah.
so basically, he decides that in order for this to be safe, Quickville and Sonichu must be destroyed. And Sonichu tries to defend his home, but zapping to the extreme is not enough to combat a cease and desist.
Hmm. But then of course, you got to remember Christian also exists in Quickville. As her own character.
Uh huh.
So I would imagine with you know Disney coming in to destroy Quickville for the copyright infringement. Of course, Christine would have the help of her wonderful husband Mewtwo to show up and use his powerful psychic powers to fight Iron Man out Mickey Mouse in a duel to the death. You know, a la Optimus Prime versus Megatron style sort of fight where there's explosions happening everywhere for no reason, and you know. Come on, it's at least a cool image. It's at least a cool image.
Yeah, sort of. You brought Sonichu into this podcast. I was really hoping to wait, but you know what? Sonichu versus Mickey Mouse. You can only hear about that stuff here on Impossible Versus Matches
There you
every
go.
Tuesday and Thursday at
Yep.
3:30 p.m. Eastern
Yep. Yep.
Standard Time.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Make sure
East
to
Coast
subscribe
from
and
seven to
share.
five seven. Oh, actually, I mean yours is different. But from the from where I'm at here in the 7 cities, Hampton, stand up.
All right.
Yeah.
So now it's your turn.
Okay.
I'm not talking about Sonichu anymore.
I know. I'm
All
sorry.
right.
Okay.
You brought this here. Go
Okay.
ahead. Drop another name.
Okay. Give me a half a second. Uh, Gambit.
Gambit. Okay. Looks like you ended up with a cool matchup.
All right.
Um, Also getting a lady in here.
Oh.
Gambit versus Samus
Oh, okay. Yeah,
from
that's
from the
for
Metroid
real.
from the Metroid series.
Okay. Actually, I already got a good scenario.
All right.
Okay, so um Samus gets a call, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's from the Shi'ar Empire. And for those of you people who don't know, the Shi'ar Empire are a evil galactic empire in the Marvel universe. They usually collide with the X-Men multiple times, and they are hiring Samus to go and find someone connected to this terrorist cell. This terrorist cell called the X-Men,
Mhm.
and she basically goes to Earth to look for this thing that was stolen by the Shi'ar Empire. So she goes to the number one, the most disgusting, down, dirty place a bounty hunter like her could ever end up in, New Orleans, Louisiana. So, home of that Popeye. No, I'm just kidding.
Love that chicken from Popeye.
But no, basically, Gambit stole something from the Shi'ar Empire the last time the X-Men had to deal with them because he's a thief from the Thieves Guild. That's Gambit. That's what he does. He throws playing cards that explode. That's Gambit's thing. It's what Gambit does. Gambit's Gambit. Um, so he's playing a poker card game, and Samus is deep undercover because she can't show up in her whole sci-fi, crazy looking stuff.
Right.
So she goes undercover. She takes that armor off, walks around like a sexy lady, and all that. She gets in this poker game in this seedy bar in New Orleans, and she identifies Gambit. Gambit's being Gambit, just like, oh, I got the playing cards, yeah. Look at me, Shell. Whoa, poor boys and and shrimp
Crawdad.
and crawdads here in New Orleans
Gumba.
and jazz.
Jambalaya.
And basically, he has a terrible gambling
Frog.
problem. And he has nothing left, so he has the piece of the Shi'ar whatever, like, diamond that he stole from like a space mission he was on with the X-Men like months ago. And yeah, but then of course Samus comes in, right? She's gambling it with him, but of course that Remy LeBou, man, he's a slick something else. He's able to corral, get all the money, but then Samus reveals herself, saying that she's from the Shi'ar Empire and she's here to take his stuff, the diamond. And he's just like, oh, no, Cher, that's the thing you gotta know about us, about us Louisianans. You may think we have one card in our hand, but you don't know the card up our sleeve. And he throws he throws a card at her because she doesn't know that he has powers. She just thinks that he's just some thief that just got lucky and just stole something from his empire. She doesn't know. They didn't tell her that. Oh yeah, he makes playing cards explode. That's like his thing, you know.
You're not convincing me that Gambit's not lame.
First of all, can you make playing cards explode? No, you can't. Do you have a sexy Cajun accent? No, you don't. All right. That's all. That's what Gambit
I
is.
feel like I can live without both of those things.
That's what Gambit is, and that's what Gambit does. Okay. Like
All
I
right.
said, he has Samus right there. He's throwing the playing cards, and of course they get into a cool fight in a bar. All that stuff. Things are going crazy. Gambit brings out his staff, and it's like making things explode, and da. Samus is making things explode. It's a draw. It's a duel to the death, and all that. And right before the finishing blow happens. A giant spotlight hits both of them, and it's the X-Men themselves, and they teleport down, and basically Cyclops just shows up, just like, hey, so like we're the X-Men, and yeah, Gambit, give the lady that jewel back. All right, you really have. This is why like we don't let you hang out at the mansion. Give her like the jewel. He's like, but she attacked. Like Gambit, listen, shut up, stop being dumb. Just give the lady the diamond, okay? Like we didn't even know you even stole that. We were on a rescue mission for the Shi'ar, and you stole something of theirs. Stop being a jerk. He's like, oh, okay. And he gives Samus the diamond, and they just talk it out and all that stuff. And yeah, and they make a new ally with Samus, in case they ever need her help out in space. And Gambit, of course, attempts to ask her on a date. She denies, and she goes off on a spaceship. And Gambit's like, oh, I'll never meet a girl like that ever again. And Rose is like standing right there, just being mad at him. And, what we learned from this story is that Gambit sucks. As a person, as a mutant, and just all around.
Gambit sucks. That sounds like the title of a podcast episode of the Young Kings podcast.
Yes, I know.
Where you can find Jason.
Yep, that's me.
Link in the description, but also on the YouTube channel in the end slate.
Yes.
Wasn't that a fun segue?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
That was a smooth transition.
Yeah, that was a very smooth transition.
I've made it less smooth by talking about how smooth the transition was.
Did you like the story? I think, kind of on the top of my head, you know what I mean? Just making it.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. You had her, go down. She is a bounty hunter, which is not something that is often explored in the lore.
That's like the first sentence of her character is that she's a bounty.
Yeah, she's a bounty hunter, but to be honest, there's very few games where I feel like she's actually hunting any sort of bounty. She is just out doing stuff and then ends up crashing somewhere.
Right. That's usually how that happens.
Like Metroid Prime, she is not hunting any bounties. She's just trying to survive. There are other bounty hunters, but this time she's actually doing some hunting. She's doing a mercenary job.
Right.
And
it just made it easy because, like, okay, Gambit's part of the Marvel universe,
Yeah.
And with that, you have Samus being, in space. Then there's all these crazy galactic empires in, Marvel universe space. And it's just easy just to say, hey, one of them hired her to do something.
Yeah. I mean, makes the most sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of other ways to link Nintendo to Marvel in that sense. Because as far as the Metroid universe goes, there's not a lot of people or anything.
There's not a lot of lore that comes with it. She's just in space.
Yeah, she's in space. There is some Metroid lore, but not anything that would send her to Earth. But having a Marvel alien contact her, pretty good.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's not as deep and almost Lovecraftian like Kirby lore.
Oh yeah. We'll talk about. Well, we've already talked about Kirby actually.
Yeah, but the Kirby lore though, like Lovecraftian levels of absolute.
Kirby fights gods. Kirby kills over. He was eating one piece of cake.
Yep.
And when laid waste to an entire land and defeated a god just so he could get that cake back.
Yes.
And then he eats that cake as if nothing ever happened.
Yes.
He didn't even seem that bothered. He just wanted the cake.
Yeah. Yeah. As I said, there's a reason Kirby survived the giant Smash Brothers Thanosing that happened. Besides the fact the guy who makes the game is the guy who invented Kirby.
Right.
And that's his favorite character, and basically establishing that Kirby's the most important character in Nintendo.
Maybe the most powerful.
Yeah, most powerful, most powerful, most powerful.
But
Easy.
anyway, so that does it for this episode of
Yeah.
Impossible versus Matches. I've
No,
been
right,
joined
right.
by Jason.
Yep.
I've already said where they can find you, but is
Yep.
there anywhere else anything else that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I always have a podcast episode every Saturday. You can find me on the Instagram, JAYGodzilla. You can find me on the Twitter, making my tweets on JAYGodzilla, JAY Godzilla. You know where I'm at. Please follow the Young Kings podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcast, and also on the YouTube. And yeah,
The YouTube.
that's all I got. Yeah, the YouTube.
All right. Well, join us next time for another episode.